You're watching TVCOGECO, truly local television.
Good evening, folks. If I can call this meeting to order. This evening we have two agendas we're going to be following, our Committee of the Whole agenda, and that's followed by our Council agenda. So with that, I'm going to call upon Councillor Ron Bodner to start us off with a prayer, followed by Mr. Joel Longfellow to start us off with the National Anthem. Councillor Bodner.
Dear Lord, we ask your guidance as we meet here tonight. Help us make wise and thoughtful decisions that will benefit our city and its residents. Amen.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all thy sons command. Car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée de plus brillant exploit. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you, Joel. Well done.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
That's something I guess we heard a lot of in the last 2 weeks, eh?
Yes.
At least 25 times. But I have to admit, you know, I was on CKTV today, on 610 CKTV, and Rob McConnell, or is it Tom McConnell? Anyways, is it Tom? Made a good point. If in fact people get medals individually, and it's counted that way, why can't we, in a team sport, get gold medals, and it's counted that way? For example, the hockey team, 15 players. Why doesn't Canada have 15 medals? 22. Instead of 1 medal for the hockey team. 22 players. So in fact, if in fact you factored it in that way, Canada came home with 71 medals because of both hockey teams and the curling teams. Good point. Something to think about. You know, the team only gets 1 medal. So, interesting. Anyway, let's get to business, guys. Yeah. Madam Clerk, are there any addendum items this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, there are no addendum items.
Thanks, Annette. Members of Council, if I can have a motion to confirm the agenda, please. Councillor Steele, Councillor Kenny, are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you. Disclosures of interest. Are there any disclosures of interest this evening? With none, moving on to items requiring separate discussion. Don't you dare. We have 2 reports, guys. That's all we have on there. There's no questions or comments to those reports. No updates from staff. We have correspondence also attached. Take it all in block. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Steele, Councillor Bodner. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. We'll now move on to Councillor's items, new business. Councillor Steele.
Thank you, Your Worship. Go Canada, go. Had to wear this today. It's even got Rick Nash. Look at that, eh? Gotta love it. Gotta love the Americans, too. Shut out back-to-back games. Anyways, Your Worship, just a note from this past weekend. The Golden Puck Hockey Committee celebrated their 50th anniversary hockey tournament. This was our House League, local league tournament. We had 40 teams from around Ontario, Peterborough, Ottawa, London area, and all points between. Huge success. We had our Port Colborne Adam, one of our Port Colborne Adam House League teams were the champs. They played another Port Colborne team that made it to the finals, so they were finalists. And we had a novice finalist, and in the Pee Wee division we had 2 visiting teams that took place in that game, which is not necessarily a good thing, but it's not a bad thing when you can have your out-of-town teams show up at our tournaments and take away some of the gold medals per se. Also this weekend we honored Martin Van Gool for 50 years of being involved with the Golden Puck Hockey Committee. There's a Martin Van Gool Award, which is presented to members of the organization, and this year's award went to two gentlemen, Mr. John Van Gool, who's our tournament chairman, and Dr. Robert Bisley, who does a lot of work. He's our treasurer. So they were the first recipients of the Martin Van Gool Award. So Harry, please, through your worship to Harry, tell everybody, great job, all the staff, the public loved it, and I'll tell you, and I say this again and again and again, and I'll say it as long as I'm standing here, people love our facility. They just can't believe what Port Colborne has. People from out of town, we had the OMHA there on Saturday. We closed the track down for some festivities for a few hours. We had some interactive games for our players from all our teams. And the people there just couldn't believe it. And the guy from the OMHA says, wow. And this is a guy that travels all across the province doing special events for the OMHA. I took him on a tour and he just couldn't believe it. And out-of-towners love our facility, love the facility, love the rinks, like the pools. I guess some of them used them on the weekend. The gymnasium, there were some events going on there that the Y was putting on. Some of the kids were in there. The bocce club, I know, had an open door this weekend. So some of the adults were in there looking around. So, you know, it bodes well for the city of Port Colborne, and it bodes well for Harry's staff putting on a good show for us over at the rink. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Steele. Further new business, Councillor's items. Councillor Danch.
Thank you, and just to comment on Bill there, I was out walking around the arena there Saturday night with my wife, and I think Annette was there as well, and the place was just full of excitement. It was really nice to see. Just a couple small things, if I could, to Ron. I spoke with him earlier there. Gentleman at 35 Sheba on that area of town there would like to see his ditches looked after a little bit there, and Ron was accommodating and said, like, once Mother Nature decides to leave, that we could maybe get something looked at here. From Councillor Doucette's ward there, a fellow was asking about the Berkeley and Chippewa area. There's a small stop sign there on a short portion of the road, and thinking that it's not used a whole lot, and you just wonder if maybe the stop sign could be removed and maybe a yield put in there to keep that traffic slowed down just the same. But who knows? We have to ask these questions. We don't know, right? Our Main Street BIA is going to meet on Tuesday next week. We'll be meeting at the Country Store Kettle and Grill at 7 p.m. We'll be in the front room. We'll be sending out an email to all members of the BIA, and we had a Chamber of Commerce member there at the last meeting, and it's always nice to see some new faces. So other than that, thanks, and it's nice to be back.
Good. Thanks, Frank. Mr. Hanson, any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll be happy to look at these two items. Once the snow's gone, about June or July, we'll take a look at the ditches and take a look at that yield sign in place with stop sign and traffic.
Thank you. Councillor Doucette.
Just a comment about those stop signs. Right now, people are yielding because of the stop signs. We put a yield, we have to be careful, because if it's only a yield, they won't stop or even slow down. Right now, they're just barely slowing down for the stop signs. So let's keep that in mind too, because remember that small triangle is a parquet. It's the only one on that side of Main Street. So let's be, and that was the reason why we had put them there. So let's remember that as we review.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further comments or questions, members? With none, we'll move on to staff reports. Updates. Mr. Hakeem.
Through your worship to members of council and staff. I sent out some information which was quickly sent to us from the region on an application process for a Healthy Kids Community Challenge. The package is quite involved. It has a lot of information, background information for you to review, and really the thrust of this was largely due to 12 municipal mayors who verbally supported the initiative to put forward an application. And at a meeting recently this past Friday, municipal reps were there, and we hammered out a lot of details with respect to how this funding application is going to go forward. The region is going to take the lead from the public health side of the house, and from a municipal standpoint, I guess keeping within the spirit of the support that the municipal mayors have provided verbally. The region has drafted a memorandum of understanding, which I have distributed a letter of support, which has been distributed. And really, for me tonight, as well as my colleagues in other municipalities, we're just reaching out to municipal councils at this point. One, to gain the additional support and principle towards moving forward with this application and ensuring that staff have the correct direction to deal with this. And secondly, although there's a project manager being solicited for and will be hired to manage this project from afar, it'll work at arm's length with the rest of the municipalities. We're going to contribute to the application process if council so wishes. The financial contribution, again, it was listed in here, and the region used the sliding scale based on population. And I think our commitment, as it seems, there's two funding models. One is through FTEs, full-time equivalencies, which doesn't really amount to as much as you might think. It's all laid out here. And the second one is a funding aspect to fund the project manager. It's 50%, but our portion is anywhere between 500 and 1,000. I was discussing that with the treasurer this afternoon. We feel, and I discussed this with Peter at some length, we could do it with existing resources. That's how we feel, without adding any more burden or financial commitment for the duration of this application and this project. Okay.
Good. Members of council, any questions or comments? Just a bit more background. This was actually brought to my attention by the medical officer of health, Dr. Yeager, about a month ago. And as Harry correctly noted, it is an opportunity for us to actually tap into some of the funding that's being made available, about $1.6 million worth of funding. And therefore, myself and a few of the other mayors sort of got the ball rolling to get support from all 12 mayors to actually support this regional initiative that will bring extra programming dollars to different municipalities if we're successful. If Niagara is one of the selected communities to receive the HKCC funding and support additional local community champions vis-a-vis CARES, community living, minor hockey, minor baseball, minor soccer, and the list goes on, representing the different themes of physical activity, healthy eating, and adequate sleep may be identified within each municipality to create a larger team of champions, as outlined in your report. As you know, and both Frank and Bill, I think, seen it this weekend. You know, Port Colborne has become a fun, active, vibrant, healthy community. And I think, you know, thanks to Harry and your team and members of staff, we've been able to really take programming to the next levels. I'll say levels pluralized because it seemed like we just went from here to here overnight versus the steps up the ladder. And kudos to you guys for doing that. But again, vibrant, fun, active, healthy community through programming, using all our facilities, not just the Valet Center, but all the other facilities as well during all times of the year, all seasons. This actually compounds that, it augments it, it gives us an opportunity to get some funding and hopefully to leverage the existing programs that we have in place, including the human resources. And hopefully it'll supplement the costs and or add more programs that we can offer, especially the youth for healthy lifestyles. So good news. I think what Harry's looking for today is somewhat of a blessing from council, so that way we can get this thing going and hopefully move forward with the other 12 municipalities and the region through its public health department. Okay? Councillor Steele?
Would you like a formal motion then?
Yep.
I think we need leave to do this, correct?
Yep.
I'll move that we have leave for this.
Seconder to that, please. Councillor Doucette, questions or comments to that? All those in favor? Opposed? That'll be carried. Thank you.
Your worship, then I would move that, that this council supports Harry and his department with regards to the Healthy Kids Community Challenge community funding, that we proceed with the application along with the 11 other municipalities in the region. I think it's a great idea, and collaboration is always a good thing. Good. So they're not tackling the same problem over and over again. We can collaborate and spread the money the best way we can.
Great. Thank you, Councillor. Seconder, Councillor Doucette, questions or comments further? With none, all those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you, and thank you, Harry. Great work. Are there any further updates? Mr. Hanson, I just about called you Councillor Hanson again.
Nice sound.
Next election.
Mr. Mayor and members of council, as a result of an inquiry we had at the last meeting of council regarding winter control operations, I dropped off a summary sheet of where we are to date with winter control operations. And as you can see, we're not in too bad a shape at the present time. This summary is from January 2014 to the middle of February 2014. The budget numbers that you see on the right in each column for each year are based on our 5-year average for winter control. We are over budget on the plowing, given that several of our storms this year have occurred on weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, so we have incurred some overtime expenses related to plowing. But in general, we're still about 56,300 under the projected budget for 2014. And I also advise council that we have $39,500 in a reserve for winter control that's accumulated over the last 2 or 3 seasons where we've had fairly mild winters. So we're not anticipating any problems at the present time in terms of current funding. We'll go forward to November, December 2014, see how those play out in terms of the weather, and then at that time we'd either apply the reserve or come forward in 2015 for additional funding for the budget. So in general, still in pretty good shape depending on what happens this spring.
Thank you, Ron. Members of council, any questions or comments? Councillor Doucette.
Through you, sir, to Mr. Hanson. Thank you very much for this. It was a concern of mine, and it looks like we still need to keep track of it, but it looks like we're in good shape, and that's what's important. And that's all I wanted out of this. So thank you very much for bringing it forward so quickly.
Thank you, Councillor. Further questions or comments? With none, thanks, Ron. Great job. Members of council, with no further updates from staff. Chief, anything to update? Everything's good? Water levels are fine?
I won't comment as to whether everything's good.
Members, I do have 2 sets of minutes here. The minutes of the 4th meeting regular of Committee of the Whole, dated February 10th, 2014, and a second set of minutes are the minutes of the 5th meeting special of Committee of the Whole, dated February 11th, 2014. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kenny, Councillor Bodner. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you. Are there any notices of motion this evening? With no notices of motion to adjourn this portion of tonight's agenda. Councillor Doucette, Councillor Kenny. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That would be carried. With that, we'll move on now to our council agenda. We'll start off with the clerk, if there's any addendum items this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, there are no addendum items.
Thank you, Annette. Members of council, motion to confirm the agenda, please. Councillor Danch, Councillor Kenny. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. We'll now move on to disclosures of interest. Are there any? With none, move on to the adoption of the minutes. I do have 1 set of minutes here. The minutes of the 3rd meeting regular of council, dated February 10th, 2014. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Steele, Councillor Doucette. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Are there any items requiring separate discussion? Mover and seconder for the items, please. Councillor Bodner, Councillor Doucette. Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. I do have a set of minutes here from the Port Colborne Gateway Business Improvement Area Board of Directors, Board of Management meeting of February 4th, 2014. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Danch, Councillor Butters. You're now on the list. You now made the minutes. Questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Are there any notices of motion? With none, Madam Clerk, floor is yours. Introduction of the bylaws.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That the following bylaw be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Bylaw number 6048/14/14, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2871/50/93, as amended, being a bylaw to adopt a policy respecting a municipal alcohol management policy.
Thank you, Annette. Members of council, mover and seconder for the bylaws, please. Councillor Steele, Councillor Kenny. Questions, comments? All in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you. Madam Clerk, the confirmatory bylaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That the following bylaw be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Bylaw number 6049/15/14, being a bylaw to adopt, ratify, and confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the City of Port Colborne at its regular meeting of February 24th, 2014.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Tell me something. How do you go from the mayor's office for 17 years, by the way, 4 of those with me. To the Parks and Recreation with Tommy, and now in the clerk's office.
Yep. Am I moving up?
You're moving around.
Moving sideways.
Closer to the door,
Lateral, yeah. Members, mover and seconder, please. Councillor Steele, Councillor Kenny, questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you, members. We'll now move on to a motion to go into closed session. Before I do that, I am going to announce the upcoming meetings. There's 2 in March, are February 10th. March 10th, Committee of the Whole, Council, beginning at 6:30 p.m. Here in the chamber. You 2 girls from Niagara College, be sure to be here. They're not paying attention.
They're not listening. They didn't know you were talking.
They're collaborating on the two reports that we have tonight. They're going to do their projects on tomorrow. So Monday, March 10th, here in the chamber, 6:30 p.m., Committee of the Whole and Council, and following that, Monday, March 24th, 2014, once again, here in the chamber, beginning at 6:30 p.m. So with that, members, I'll be looking. Yes, Mr. Howe.
Your Worship, I was talking with the treasurer, and we'll be talking to you, Your Worship, about the potential of a meeting on March the 17th. That's the Monday in between the regular councils, to deal with capital projects. The treasurer's, pardon?
Well, between St. Patty's Day and being March break, I don't know.
Well, if there's another date, it's fine. But right now, we'll talk to Your Worship, but we need to get the capital projects. Right now, by the time we get all of this here, everything, the council needs to look at some priorities, because there's long-term financing plans that have to be worked out.
Well, let's go, folks, let's go for the 17th right now, but if you have a problem with it, email Bob, and he'll work it out, or Carrie will work it out. But you're going off too, aren't you?
Not that week. I'm away 4 days next week, Your Worship.
Okay. Okay, so if council has a problem with that date, let us know, and we'll switch it. Okay, with that, I will look for a motion to go into closed session to deal with the minutes of the closed session portion of the February 10th, 2014 regular council meeting and the February 11th, 2014 special meeting of council of the whole. Second item is a confidential report from the Chief Administrative Officer regarding a labor relations matter and conveying legal advice respecting same pursuant to Municipal Act 2001, subsection 2392B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, as well as 2392D, labor relations or employee negotiations, and 2392F, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. So with that, I will ask for a motion to go into closed session. Councillor Danch, Councillor Doucette, are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. We'll now go into closed session. Have a wonderful week.